Hey everybody, welcome back to another review. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm actually recording this on Thanksgiving. Probably gonna post this the day after Thanksgiving. Yeah, probably the day after Thanksgiving. Um, just got back home, just with family, with relatives. Nice little time. And just came home to take care of the Kiki, our kitten, our cat, and decided to watch a movie. Decided to catch up on a few movies. One of which today being Rustin, which was directed by George C. Wolfe, whose other credits include Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which came out in, I believe, 2020. That one, of course, starring Chadwick Boseman in what would be one of his final performances. I believe his final performance, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Starring Coleman, I forget his name. My apologies. Coleman Domingo, who I am familiar with in Zola, as well as just to be sure, just so I'm not presuming. Uh, was he in The Five Bloods? He was not. But he was also the voice of. Apparently, he was in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom as well, so he's worked with this director previously. But you also would recognize him in, Candyman. Most recently, he did the voice of Unicron in Transformers: Rise of the Beast this year. And he's also slated to be in the Color Purple remake pretty soon here. Um, he plays Bayard. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but Bayard Rustin, who was a civil rights activist, homosexual civil rights activist, and he has a I guess you could say a just neutral type relationship with Martin Luther King Jr. as they both try to, or at least mostly him, trying to organize the what would become the March on Washington in 1963. And they show his struggles to getting such a thing while also dealing with his sexuality, and the ultimately what the film is about is the untethered passion that he possesses towards his cause and that purpose, and in turn spawning that of ignorance and selfishness, and how that can deter from his cause, and how he must try to keep himself in some sort of focus, I guess. But it doesn't really go in that direction either. It just kind of things just sort of happen conveniently, and to some measure that is a problem with Rustin, is that stuff feels rather convenient. It kind of trots along in a familiar dramatic fashion. It also feels heavily embellished, very assuming, because on one level I don't quite believe that protest was entirely peaceful. I'm pretty sure if I do just a little bit of research, I'm pretty sure there was probably some violent dispersals that happened. Because when you say 200,000 people are going to be there, the odds of everyone acting accordingly, that's not going to happen. So, but beyond such things, and also a distance that is being built through a representation that holds a vague yet noticeable exaggerative like quality. Like, though those elements are present, what you get a lot of is an appealing, jazzy, if stagey, like style that I think is really, really well written, and has a very engaging ensemble. I think all of them are very well done. Domingo, I've been hearing Oscar buzz from him. I wouldn't really, think of it that way, but I found his accent to be a bit distracting. I think that it's more interested in expressing an feminine like attitude, which I think kind of feels more mockery than anything. I mean, I get that. I don't know if that's really who he was. I mean, I'm not sure if he was this. Like, apparently, he was a very openly gay individual. So I'm not sure in attitude if that's how he was. Um, so I don't know. It just feels a little on the nose. Just the I wouldn't not the accent, but just the voice and the impersonation, the thing that he's doing. It just feels a little, you know, a little much. I think a little more of a subtlety, a little more toned down. I think would have maybe given more heft to his character instead of just being like playing up a stereotype. And I feel that the film also takes a little bit of a pleasure in showering its character. They like kind of showcase his intelligence quite a bit. Showing him like he's very quick with words and he's he speaks very logically, but he's also quite a manipulator. He's he talks big, but he's also very manipulative and very emotionally driven. The whole dilemma of the film is that his friend betrayed him, and he's butthurt because of it, and because of that, that's why things are not moving in the direction that they can. So you have a character that is, and also he's also claiming to not not to be racist, but he'll reject a bunch of white police officers purely because they're white, but train a bunch of black officers because they're black. Yeah. So, you know, so there are some discrepancies. There are some, some stuff that all falls into your, uh, liberal attitudes, but at least as what it would be today, that'd be considered a liberal like attitude, um, but deterring from that, moving away from that, speaking about the film proper though, I found it to be, in just terms of a craftsmanship, I found it to be enjoyable. I was engaged. I found the performances, like I said, disregarding the impersonation, the voice that Colman Domingo is putting on. I think that in general that performance is good. Um, I I like the style that George C. Wolfe brings to his films, this very jazz-like quality. I do wish though less of a stagey like appearance would help. More of a cinematic language would be much better than having to. I know that he's also a playwright, so I understand why that attitude is present. But I think that being more cinematic and less theatrical would help. Um, but what you get is something that is good. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's good. It's solid. It works. It has some resonance. It has the engagement. It has the investment. Um, I just, not knowing the little that I researched on just now about Rustin. Um, I just, and also in just what I just saw from the film, I just can't help but think that elements are heavily embellished, and that there are some level of assumptions being taken with the character. It's presuming that he is like there's a very self-righteous element to the movie, and similar to the vein of like Naiad, where it looks at its character as a heroic like figure throughout, and not wanting to really look at the other parts of themselves. Kind of presenting it subtly, like for a minute. That, oh well, they messed up. That's not a mess up. We're talking about the other side of the character, the bad parts of that character, the parts where he is a scum, where he is a manipulator and all this stuff. Like the movie doesn't really touch on that sort of thing. Instead, builds up the fact that, like, oh, what a guy, he is. Especially at the ending, it's like, oh, what a guy. So, it takes a little pleasure in showcasing its character in a certain light. I wish it was a more honest portrait of things, because it feels a bit biased in depiction. But as a craftsmanship, I found it to be enjoyable, and there are just some questions in terms of depiction and in overall spirit that I feel kind of takes away some of the heft and some of the depth that could be there. But what really saves it is its screenplay, the performances, and the sincerity that is there. I found it to be tender, at points resonant, but I feel that it could have been a lot more of that if the craftsmanship took a more honest look at things and not just a bias of it. So, or viewing it purely from a particular perspective, which I think is just a little bit ignorant and a bit not as well rounded or as fully realized. So, but those are my thoughts on Rustin. I enjoyed it, but I think it could have been more if things were viewed in a more honest way. But you guys want to know your thoughts on Rustin? If you guys have seen it, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for me, guys. And just also, by the way, I forgot to mention, in terms of comparing this to Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, I think that this is a better film, because I think that with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, that was a stage production. With this, there's less of that, but I mean, there still is still that stagey element that I'm not really keen on. It was more prominent in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and I think that it just didn't really work well for me. With this, it's toned down a little bit more, but it's still present. But thankfully, there's other elements there that really that make it enjoyable. So, and making that element less distracting. So, but just want to put that in at the end. But let me know your thoughts on Rustin and your thoughts on Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, if you guys have seen it, in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.